I moved to this house in the woods about 2 years ago. It sits quietly at the edge of a small town in Oregon, surrounded by towering pine trees and rolling hills that stretch out for miles. I had grown tired of the noise, the rush, and the chaos of city life. Out here, things felt different, slower, softer, like time had loosened its grip. There were no neighbors in sight, only the whisper of wind through the branches and the occasional chirp of birds. I thought it was perfect. The locals had a way of speaking about the woods. They didn't say anything directly, just offhand comments, strange things out there, or you'll get used to the quiet, eventually. At first, I laughed it off. Every place has its stories, after all. I assumed they were just trying to scare the newcomer. A little local tradition, maybe. But even in the earliest days, something about the forest felt heavy. Not threatening exactly, just too quiet sometimes, too still. I would find myself watching the tree line without realizing it, expecting movement. It never came, but the feeling never left. At night, the woods seemed to lean closer to the house like they were listening. The shadows stretched just a bit too far, and the silence seemed to press against the windows. Still, I told myself it was nothing. I had wanted isolation, and now I had it. The days were peaceful, the air was clean, and the stars at night were like nothing I had ever seen. It was the kind of place people write about but never truly find. I thought I had finally found it. I didn't know yet that something else was living out there, something that had been watching long before I arrived. It started with sounds. Just soft noises at first, barely noticeable and easy to ignore. The kind of thing you'd expect in the woods. At night, after the wind died down and the house settled into stillness, I would hear something faint beyond the backyard. A soft crunching like footsteps in dried leaves, a low creak, as if an old tree were leaning just a little too far. Once I thought I heard something knock twice, slow and deliberate, against the back fence. I told myself it was deer, maybe raccoons. Animals are active at night. That's what I kept repeating. Still, the noises always came from the same direction, the dense patch of forest, directly behind my house. And always at the same time, just after midnight. There was a pattern to it, something intentional. And though I couldn't prove it, I began to feel like whatever was out there wanted me to hear it. My dog Leo, usually calm and curious, began acting strange. He would growl at the back door for no reason. His ears would perk up at nothing, and sometimes he'd refuse to go outside after dark. One night I opened the door for him, and he backed away, tail low, eyes locked on the woods. I had never seen him like that. It got to the point where I started leaving lights on around the back porch. Motion sensors, floodlights. I even kept a flashlight nearby just in case. But every time I stepped outside to look, the sound would stop, as if the forest were holding its breath, waiting. A few mornings I found small things moved. A garden chair tipped over, a wind chime twisted around itself, a pile of stones at the edge of the yard that hadn't been there before. None of it made sense. I didn't have neighbors close enough to play pranks, and no animals I knew could arrange rocks like that. I wasn't scared, not exactly, not yet. But something about those nights stayed with me long after the sun came up. There was a rhythm to it, a presence I couldn't name. Something was out there, something that knew where I lived. One night I stepped out onto the back porch just after midnight. The air was cold and still, and the trees stood like dark silhouettes against the sky. I wasn't expecting anything, just checking like I always did. But then I saw it. At the edge of the woods, standing just beyond the reach of the porch light, there was a shape, tall, unmoving. At first I thought it might be a tree stump or a trick of the shadows. But it was too narrow, too upright. Its outline was faint, but it was there, something vertical, with edges too clean to be natural. I blinked and it didn't move. I stared for a long time, waiting for it to shift, to step forward or vanish. It didn't do either. It simply stood there as if watching. I felt a strange sensation in my chest, not fear exactly, but tension like a cord pulled too tight. I whispered Leo's name, but he wouldn't come to the door. He was hiding under the table, ears flat and eyes wide. That's when I knew it wasn't just in my head. The next morning I checked again. There was nothing in that spot, no tree, no object, no sign that anything had been there. The grass was undisturbed. I tried to convince myself it had been a shadow, or maybe even fatigue playing tricks on me. But the next night it happened again. This time it was closer. Not by much, maybe a few steps nearer to the house, but enough that I noticed. The same shape, the same stillness. No movement, no sound, Just the deep, quiet pressure of something being there that shouldn't be. Every night after that, I started to expect it. And every night it showed up, closer and closer, but never crossing the line where the yard met the woods. It was always just far enough to stay hidden from detail, but near enough to be real. I stopped going outside at night. I would watch from the window instead, light off, curtain barely open. I began to dread the silence, the moment when I would look up and see it, waiting. The woods had become a stage, and whatever it was had taken its place. It never moved, but I felt it watching, not curious, not confused, just patient. I couldn't keep pretending it wasn't happening. Every night the figure returned, always in the same place, always motionless, each time just a little closer than the night before. I stopped sleeping well. I would wake up at odd hours, drawn to the window like something was calling me, pulling at my thoughts. One morning, I decided to set up a trail camera at the edge of the yard. I angled it toward the tree line, exactly where the figure always stood. It gave me a strange comfort, thinking I might finally capture some kind of proof. That night it returned again. I saw it through the window, standing there as it always did, still silent, watching. The next day I checked the footage. My heart was pounding as I connected the camera to my laptop, but the file was blank. No error message, no corrupted data, just nothing. A clean, empty stretch of night, like nothing had triggered the sensor at all. I tried again the next night, and the next. Each time the camera recorded everything until midnight. Then silence, darkness, as if the night had swallowed it whole. I asked around town, casually at first. A few people just smiled and changed the subject. One older man at the hardware store paused when I mentioned the woods behind my house. He gave me a long look and said, "Used to be some stories about that area, strange ones. Not everyone stuck around." Then he left without another word. Even the local ranger didn't offer much. "Sometimes the land holds on to things," he said, a finger to his temple. "Old things. Best not to go poking." I started noticing other signs. Carvings on tree trunks near the edge of my yard, faint. Weathered symbols I couldn't recognize. Once I found a feather tied with red thread hanging from a low branch. Another time, a small pile of ash inside a perfect circle of stones. I didn't know what it meant. But I was starting to understand that this wasn't just some wild animal. It wasn't a prank. And it wasn't new. This thing, whatever it was, had been here long before me. I began to wonder if it had noticed me long before I noticed it. I never saw it move. That was the part that disturbed me the most. No matter how often it appeared, no matter how much closer it came, I never saw it take a single step. One night I fell asleep on the couch. When I woke up, the clock on the wall said it was just after 2 in the morning. The house was completely still. But something felt wrong. Leo wasn't at my feet like usual. I found him hiding under the bed, trembling. His eyes were wide, locked on the hallway, and he wouldn't come out no matter how much I called. That's when I heard it, a soft creak coming from the back of the house. The kind of sound a door makes when it's gently pushed open. I walked slowly to the kitchen, every step louder than I wanted it to be. The back door was open, just a crack. I know I had locked it before I went to sleep. The air spilling in from outside was cold and heavy. I didn't go out. I just stood there staring into the dark. The next morning I found tracks in the dirt just outside the door. Not shoe prints, not paw prints, something in between. Long, narrow marks with no clear pattern, as if something had dragged itself forward without lifting its legs. I couldn't take it anymore. I brought the trail camera inside, set it to record all night, and pointed it at the kitchen. The next day I checked the footage. At first everything was normal. Hours passed. Then sometime after midnight the screen flickered, and there it was, just for a moment. A shape standing beyond the glass door, not fully formed, like something stuck between this world and something else. Its outline shimmered slightly, like heat rising from pavement. I paused the footage, staring at the frame. It wasn't close to the house anymore. It was at the door, watching. I never posted the clip. I deleted it. Something deep inside told me it was a mistake to keep it, as if just recording it had given it permission to get closer. Since then I keep every door locked, every curtain drawn, but I still feel it. When the wind dies and the world gets quiet, I know it's near. And sometimes just before I fall asleep, I hear the floorboards creak, like something is already inside. I used to think it all started when I moved in, that maybe I had disturbed something or wandered. too close to where I shouldn't have. But lately, I've begun to wonder if it started long before that, if it had been there, waiting before I ever knew this house existed. I started going through old photos on my phone just trying to feel normal again, but in one of the pictures taken on the day I moved in, I saw something strange. In the far corner of the frame, just beyond the trees, there was a faint shape, barely visible, like a smudge in the background. I hadn't noticed it before, but now that I've seen it once, I can't unsee it. It was there. I found more signs. Scratches along the base of the walls inside the house, low to the ground, thin and shallow. I hadn't noticed them at first. Then I remembered something else. For weeks after moving in, I kept losing time. I would check the clock and feel like an hour had passed, when only minutes had gone by. Sometimes I'd find myself standing by the window, not remembering how or when I got there. Leo has stopped barking altogether. He barely moves now after dark, only staring at the corners of the room, ears low and tail still. I don't think he sleeps anymore. There's something else too. Lately, I've been dreaming of the woods. Always the same path, the same shadows, the same feeling that something is following me just out of sight. But when I wake up, the ground beneath my feet feels cold, as if I had walked outside and returned without knowing it. I'm starting to believe that the figure, whatever it is, was never truly outside. It may have started there, yes, in the trees and the shadows, but over time it's crossed a line. Not a physical one, but something deeper, like it's no longer content to watch from a distance. It knows me now. My routines, my thoughts, my fears. I can feel it when I close my eyes, like a second presence beneath my skin. And the worst part is I don't think it's here to hurt me. I think it's here to stay. I packed my bags 3 days ago. I told myself I was leaving, that I had had enough. The silence, the fear, the constant feeling of being watched. It was too much. I even booked a motel in town and filled the gas tank. I was ready to walk away, but I didn't. Every time I tried to leave, something stopped me. Not something loud or dramatic, just hesitation. Like a quiet voice asking, "Are you sure?" And then an overwhelming sense of familiarity. Like I didn't belong anywhere else. The last time I stood at the front door, keys in hand, I felt a pressure behind me. Not a touch, just a presence, like someone standing too close, too quietly. When I turned around, the hallway was empty. But the air felt heavy, thick, like the house itself was holding its breath. I still haven't left. I tell myself I'm just waiting for the right moment. That I'll leave tomorrow, or maybe next week. But I don't really believe that anymore. Last night I stood at the back window just as I used to. The yard was dark, the woods barely visible. But I knew it was out there. Only now. I think it's not waiting in the woods anymore. I think it's inside. I hear it in the floorboards at night. I catch glimpses of it in the reflection of the glass standing behind me. When I turn, there's nothing there, but the feeling never fades. And here's the strange part. I don't feel afraid anymore. I should, but I don't. There's a comfort in the routine now, a stillness in knowing it's near. Maybe I've been here too long. Maybe this place no longer belongs to me, or maybe I belong to it. If you're hearing this, and you ever find yourself drawn to a quiet home at the edge of the woods, think twice. Some places don't like to be left, and some things don't like to be alone.